In your professional opinion, why do most people that you see in the gym still look like shit? Most commercial gyms within at any given time, the majority of the people in there are going to be out of shape, not have any type of like impressive physicality. You wouldn't necessarily know that they worked out unless you actually saw them in the gym.
Answer is obviously they're behind the eight ball for the most part, because if they're not athletes, I mean, obviously people who are athletes learn the neurological coordination, they learn the biomechanical, technique, just the anatomy and physiology of training, right? So a lot of these people, especially now today with technology and all these fitness influencers are in their early 20s that people are watching, adults are watching. Without that coordination, without that athletic background, they don't understand how to actually train. And then the second thing is, and this is the biggest thing, is they're not willing to ask somebody for help.
Yeah.
The motivated people, the people that are actually intentional, which you were just talking about, that do go to the gym and show up but don't do anything right and do it, 25, 30 years, right? It's Darren Hardy, the compound effect. It's insane. But it's like, what are they going to do if they're not willing to ask somebody for help? It's like, again, we were talking about this, like you see these people. I mean, today, my wife and I were training, and I'm looking at this guy, and he's like 60, late 50s or early 60s, and he has absolutely no idea what he's doing with the pull down. Yeah. And I want to stop him and like help him, but you can't, because they're first off, it's not our right? It's not our job to actually intervene. It's only our job, if they ask for help, but like you just can't, because that person is unwilling to ask for help.
Yeah. Let me just say this. If you're hearing this right now and this is kind of hitting home or hitting a nerve, as it were, if you have been in the gym for a significant period of time, you're watching what you eat most of the time, whatever the fuck that means. People say that, I watch what I eat. I don't, what does that even mean? We can, revisit that later. But like, if this if this sounds like you, then you got to wake up. You got to realize that there needs to be a course correction that takes place, because what you're doing clearly ain't it. If the needle is not moving, then good. You're now being given direct feedback that the current strategy that you are following and executing on, it's not effective. So we got to adjust that strategy. And one of the things that you and I both agree on that people miss the boat on is not training hard enough.
Oh, God.
We see this often. And again, we're not judging people for not training as hard as us. We're just frustrated because we know that them just kind of poking around, not working up a sweat, spending 3 to 4 minutes in between sets on their phone, like that is like, even if, I would argue, even if somebody was applying what they perceive to be max effort when they were doing sets and spent a few minutes on the phone after the fact, I'm still going to make the argument that their workout output and productivity and efficacy at best is 40%. Because if you're not focused on what the fuck you're doing, if you're not logged in on that task, you are not going to produce the most optimal result. It's just not physically possible in any realm of human experience, really.
I think the easiest way to say it for the audience to understand is you have to train to positive muscle failure. What does that mean? Let's define what that means. Like, you literally have to lift to the end of your set where you physiologically cannot lift another rep without shaking or breaking or having somebody spot you, right? Like, if you're training by yourself, and obviously a lot of people do train by themselves, and then sometimes you train with a partner. I'm lucky to train with my wife. And obviously she can't lift as heavy as me, but we push each other through intensity.
That is lucky. It's lucky that you actually enjoy that.
Yeah. Well,
I personally have never.
She's the only one out of 3.
But, no, you guys are awesome. And his wife is fit as hell.
Yeah, she's super fit. But the truth is, to get back to that, like, you don't have to have somebody who's as strong as you, right? No. Because like, what's important is watching their intensity and making sure that they're training for their level and their strength at the same intensity that you are. But as Chris Gathan likes to say, most people train like they're warming up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? And we should add this because it's true. The training industry is also retarded. Let's just be honest, right? Like, they give people workout programs that are like, we're going to do 4 body parts today, and we're going to do 4 to 5 exercises per body part, and 8 to 10 reps or 6 to 8 reps. I mean, it's nonsense. Like, anyone who actually has built a physique worthy of showing off in a magazine or a photo shoot or whatever, and there's a lot of people that have, know that you don't need a lot of work to carve amazing physique. You need intensity. And then obviously you need rest. And most importantly, you need good nutrition, right? So, but as you said, Chris, like if you don't understand what it takes to actually build muscle, you don't understand to train at an intensity level that you're going to get to positive muscle failure, you're going to be those people, which you just said is 70% of people who go to gyms day over day, week after week, month after month, year over year, decade after decade, and literally get worse looking.
Zero progress.
As you know, it's worse. It's the inverse because their metabolism slows down. And everything they've been doing actually compounds to worse.
Yeah. They say after age 35, adults in the United States will gain 1 pound of fat every single year.
Right.
Typically, weight will fluctuate 3 to 4 pounds, but it eventually normalizes, but it's always +1. Yeah, you think about that. You think
10
about
pounds of fat from 35
if you just think about what
45.
1 pound of fat looks like,
it's insane.
Accumulating over time. So, and nobody, by the way, nobody in the history of time has ever sat out to do something as long as a lot of people go on a fitness journey for without getting results. Nobody has ever worked hard at anything for an extended period of time to not get results.
Right.
So I can't imagine that feels very fulfilling. Now, of course, you're definitely better off that you are in fact going to the gym. But I know that when you started your fitness journey, whenever that was, you had a specific intention in mind. And for most people that are listening to this, you ain't there. So we have to refine the approach, and I believe it really comes down to 3 main things that people aren't doing for the most part from a general perspective. Not training hard enough, we just covered that, and an extension of that could be not doing cardio. A lot of people don't do cardio.
Is unreal. Yeah.
Now, again, just to be clear, I'm not saying prioritize cardio. I'm saying follow the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time that you spend in the gym needs to be on strength training, resistance training, et cetera. The other 20% on cardio, in my opinion. Most people, their diet sucks. Again, in the ones who eat well most of the time, your diet sucks.
Right.
Your diet, like if that's the way you describe your eating habits, I can almost guarantee you're not getting in enough protein. You're not getting in enough micronutrients. You're not consuming the portion sizes that you need to facilitate. Obviously, I mean, if your body doesn't look the way you want it to, clearly something's going to change. So your diet sucks. And the reason it sucks for most people is because they're not measuring. They're not tracking. They have no fucking idea. They just take in an arbitrary amount of food and just cross their fingers and hope that they burn more calories. And due to the fact they don't train really hard, I think a lot of people are overestimating how many calories they're burning during a workout. But guys, I've recently changed my position on tracking macros. I've historically made fun of people who did that. It's like, I don't have time, not really making fun of them, but more so just saying, like for me, it wasn't necessary. And it is not necessary for me to count all of my macros. As long as I'm locked in on protein, as long as I'm tracking my protein, everything falls into place. But I know my body. I've been in this game for a long time. Most people don't know that. Most people have no fucking idea how many calories or how much protein is in 4 ounces of chicken, 4 ounces.
That's where I was going to go, bro. So like that is a crucial thing and again, as you guys know, Google IQ, people are getting dumber because of technology. Most people are clueless when it comes to nutrition. We joke around about 4 calories, per protein and 4 calories per carb and 9 per fat. If you ask the average American adult on the street to break any of that down, how many calories in a fat gram, protein gram, and a carb gram, you'd have 5 or 6% of people would be able to answer the question. So when we think of it like that, from that standpoint, we're realizing that the average person doesn't understand nutrition because they've never learned it. So for us to have this conversation, this is esoteric for most people. They don't even know what we're talking about. Like I literally, as you said to me, when I start talking about macros and micros and micronutrients and all these different things, it's already going over the head of most people because they don't even know the difference between a protein, fat, and a carbohydrate.
Your audience is locked in. Obviously, your audience is tapped in, aware, educated. But to give people some just specific tangible action steps as it relates to breaking the plateau, I don't even think, if people aren't following their training protocol and a sound nutrition plan at least 95% of the time, you do not have the right to say you've hit a plateau. No, you're inconsistent. You're fucking inconsistent.
Hard gainers.
Yeah, hard gainers. Ridiculous. But look, the tracking and measuring part, before we even talk about food, let's talk about cardio. Most people aren't doing cardio. After you finish your workout, you do cardio. You don't want to do, if your primary goal is to burn fat and build lean muscle, which the best way to burn fat is to build lean muscle, you're going to want to do your cardio post-workout because your heart rate will already be in an elevated state. A lot of people that one up, surprisingly.
It's amazing. And the other thing too, if we start talking about fasting, because as you know, I'm a big faster, and we can talk about fasting if we want to, but the truth is that most people don't understand that there are three different energy systems. So when you're lifting, you're training your energy systems. When you're doing cardio, you're training an energy system. And if you're a faster and you are in a fasted, let's say you're 16, 18 hours into a fast and you go do cardio, if you do high intensity cardio in a fasted state, you're literally breaking down muscle tissue. Most people don't understand that, right? Like, to get back to what you were just saying, because, dude, you're a smart guy, obviously, but very few people know about doing cardio post-workout. And I always tell them that it's the biggest hack there is, because you just nailed it. Like, your heart rate is elevated from your lifting, assuming you know how to train right.
Yeah.
And so if you just do 15 to 20 minutes of cardio post-workout, you're in the zone. Yeah. You're burning fat. I don't want to get into the esoteric zone 2.
No, I do. I want to give people a measurable strategy.
So let's just be honest. So like, if you're lifting intensely enough to build muscle, you should absolutely 100%, I don't care what your body fat level is, be doing cardio immediately post lifting. And it should not be ballistic. It should be low impact, obviously, depending on your age, to preserve your joints. And it should be somewhere in a heart rate of like 120 to 150. You're already going to be at 130.
Yeah. So I'm going to give them the formula, right? So the formula to find your obligatory heart burning zone is you take 220, you subtract your age, and then 70% of that figure. So just to give an example here, let's say you're 38 years old.
So basically, their target fat burning rate is 145.
The way that you basically verify that you are in that place, in that fat burning zone, is you grab those handles that all you guys are ignoring and probably have never actually used a day in your life. But
they're
on the cardio machine for a reason. And every 3 to 4 minutes, you check in and 100%. You ensure that your heart rate is where it needs to be. And if you do that, you will burn calories at a significantly higher rate than if you're just kind of going in there. And what most people do is they get on a cardio machine and they go so fucking, so that's nothing. Just go lay down. Go lay on the couch.
Well, dude, let's go deeper on this, because you're talking about 38. Let's say 25 to 40-year-old people don't need to do half as much cardio as somebody who's 50 and above, right? I mean, I'm 53. I'll be 54 in February, and I was a lean guy in my 20s and 30s, and obviously I didn't have to do as much cardio. But in my 40s and 50s, if I didn't do cardio, I couldn't look like the way I look. You know what I mean? So you're 100% right. I mean, train with intensity. There's no 6 or 7 days a week that you have to be in the gym if you understand how to train. And again, very few people do. But if you understand how to train and you know how to hit your body parts, 3 to 4 days a week is probably all you need. But on your non-training days, again, depending on your lifestyle, depending on if you're eating 3 or 4 nutrition solutions meals a day, you should fast. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to fast. And on fasting days, as you know, fasted cardio in a glycogen depleted state is going to allow you to burn fat or free fatty acids at rest a lot more efficiently. So you have to get your body to a level where your body is reliant on you doing cardio. Obviously, we know the cardiovascular effects, the enhancing, the improving, the clearing of nutrients, the clearing of oxidative waste, the clearing of AKGs,
circulation,
all these negative things. Yeah, there's
O2.
There's so many great things that come from cardio, but you're right, bro. Like, and when we get into steroids and therapeutic testosterone, I mean, I tell people this all the time. Like, if you're going to use injectable therapeutic testosterone and not do cardio, you're going to have a heart attack and die. It's as simple as that.
So as it relates to tracking and measuring, we have shared with you the formula for cardio to find your heart burning zone, because if you're not in that heart burning zone, you're not or that fat burning zone, you're not burning fat. So start measuring that. The other thing that you have to start being mindful of is how many calories you're taking in and how many like, if, again, now this is if you're actually serious. if you're at a point where you are tired of looking terrible, looking the same, making no fucking progress, like, this is what you have to do. I'm going to tell you this is, and if you do this, you're going to start moving the needle. You're going to start getting better results, because it comes down to numbers. It comes down to numbers. So you have to be tracking your calorie expenditure every day. And you can do that a number of ways. I wear the Oura Ring.
Yep.
I love this. This, in my opinion, is the best fitness tracker. I've tried this one and the Whoop. I prefer this one. Again, any proper fitness tracker like the Oura Ring or the Whoop, that is going to work because that gives you an idea. Yeah. It tracks sleep, it monitors HRV, it monitors your heart rate, it tells you how many steps you've walked in a given day, which is very valuable. Most people, little side note, I think a lot of people probably think they walk 10,000 steps requires an hour and 10 minutes of walking at a moderate pace. Yep. People don't realize that. Yep. So if you think you're just like haphazardly, randomly getting 10,000 steps a day, it's probably not true. But the most valuable thing that it will track as it relates to the scope of this discussion is how many calories you burned in a given day. Now you have to add in your workouts so it can log it correctly. Yep. So with that number in mind, you are able to see how many calories that you have burned. And as long as you consume at least 500, they say at least 500, I am not the type of person that either partakes in or recommends anybody do the bare minimum of anything. Yeah. So I think you need to be in a calorie deficit of at least 600 because there's no reason fucking not to.
I agree.
Look, you get those numbers from an app like MyFitnessPal. And this is the thing I was referring to earlier. My position on this has changed because, again, I used to make fun of people logging macros, writing down. I'm just like, I don't have the time for that shit. But everybody's situation is different. And until you start to kind of understand the basics, it takes a little while. And in order for you to develop the acumen and the knowledge base that you need to start getting the results, you have to put some focus and energy and attention into it. Yeah. So entering the food that you eat. I mean, the MyFitnessPal app, like it's phenomenal. I made fun of it. Amazing. I feel really bad for making fun of it as extensively as I did over the years, but it's amazing. Every morsel of food that you can find anywhere is most likely in the MyFitnessPal app. Yes, cool. And again, it also gives you the ability at the beginning of your MyFitnessPal customer experience to write your like specific goals in there and give your stats and what have you. So it'll give you what the number of calories, what your daily intake it should be. Now, of course, you use that as a baseline and you adjust based off the results that you're getting. But guys, as long as you are in a deficit of at least 500, but again, we don't do the bare minimum of anything. As long as you're burning 600 calories more a day than you're consuming, you will consistently and sustainably lose body fat.
And that's the most important thing is sustainably. And to talk about my diet, just to inject it right now. And again, you know this, and I'm a huge supporter of nutrition solutions. I mean, just coming to this podcast tonight, I was so busy today, and I literally texted my wife because I was running late. I said, put a meal in the microwave and get it ready, and so I can get in my car and drive here and eat. And I ate literally one of the meals.
What do you think of the building, our new building?
Your new building is amazing, bro. It's literally phenomenal, dude. I mean, it's everything you told me that it was when we talked a couple of weeks ago. It's pretty sick. But to my diet, I fast and then I eat. And on my days that I eat, I train, right? So it's like an every other day, it's an alternative day fasting protocol. And obviously I've written 3 books on this stuff, and I'm pretty much now a master of autophagy and hormesis and understanding like how to change the metabolic cascades to get you to what you were just talking about, which is burning fat. But something that I was thinking about you before you were tracking calories, because you weren't really wrong. You're very meticulous. You know what you look like. You know how much food you need to maintain and build muscle. And then you also know how much you need to deficit when you're losing, right? And obviously guys like us, in the summer, we're a little bit leaner. Usually, I mean, obviously, we stay. You guys like you and I are like below 10%.
Oh, we got to dial it in.
Yeah,
in the summer, of course.
Exactly. But I mean, but you become, when you're truly intentional, as you said, I love that word. You know exactly what your body requires, right? Yes. You get to a place of like, okay, I know how many grams of protein I'm eating today. Maybe I'm 10 grams or 10 grams short today, 30 grams over the next day, or whatever it is. But you get to a place where you know it. When you're fat and you're inflamed and you're insulin resistant, if you're not tracking your calories with MyFitnessPal, which by the way is an amazing app, you're fucked.
Yep.
Let's just be very honest. You cannot get to where you want to go if you're not recording your energy and efforts every single day. It's impossible. And again, I know you know this. I have guys that I coach, through my private membership group, and they join and they're gung-ho and they're very successful guys. And they go all crazy for 7 to 10 to 14 days, and then they have that one weekend.
Yeah.
And everything gets unwound.
Yep.
and again, I know I'm preaching to the choir telling you this, but like if you're listening to this right now and you're one of those people that thinks that you can just go good for 14 or 17 days and then just go on a bender in a weekend with your boys, you're never going to lose weight.
No, strip down and go look in the mirror. Exactly. And right there, then and there is going to be a real-time depiction that tells you whether or not you are on the right track. And I don't mean to come across as an asshole, but I do. So fucking tired of so many fucking people claiming that they're putting in the work when they're actually putting in 50% of the work, 50% of the fucking time. If you put in 50% of the work, 50% of the time, I would argue you're going to get 0% of the fucking result.
And think about too, because this is important, the guys that do it right, and then they fucking go out and they have 12 fucking beers.
What I think is this. I have a theory on this. I've thought about this a lot.
Okay.
Because people will, they're fat and the scale isn't moving and they're like, I'm doing all the right. Clearly you're not. Right. Clearly you are not. All right. So let's just fucking unpack that. Right. I think that people believe if they're doing something correctly or well 80% of the time, then that's enough. But if we're talking about food, right? What 80%, let's say you're eating 5 meals a day. If you're eating 4 clean meals and then 5, the meal 5 is a pizza, a cheeseburger, a milkshake, like that's technically you're eating consistently good 80% of the time. Right. Yeah. But obviously that's not going to get it done. No. But look, just to summarize, we're going to move on to the next point. A lot of you guys aren't training hard enough. Fix that. Very simple barometer of whether or not you're training hard enough is whether you're sweating.
Exactly.
Okay. Make sure you're sweating. Make sure you're not only doing cardio, but measuring to ensure you are in fact in the fat burning zone. We need to track our macros. We need to track how many calories we're burning via the Oura Ring, which the Oura Ring, the cool thing with Oura Ring is it like looks clean.
Yeah. It's awesome.
You know, and guys, you know, maybe you've been living under a rock for the last 5 years, but I'll say it again. I've said it many times, 1 gram of quality protein per pound of whatever your goal weight is.
Right.
Okay. If you can just follow those 3 or 4 things, you're going to be good. Prioritize protein, crush the weights, 1 gram of protein per pound of your target weight. And the easiest way, the most efficient way, the most sustainable way, in my opinion, to get your daily protein intake is 70% of that intake from food, the other 30% from high quality protein supplement. That makes it easy. You're not having to eat a ton of food. Yeah, exactly. It's convenient and you get it done. So do those things and look, there's no way it won't work.